Where my girls at? Where my girls at? Independent, free spirit. Ooh, it's something serious. Where my girls at? We linked up in a cool minute. Where my girls at? It's going down, down. Where my girls at? It's going down, down. It's going down tonight. We going out tonight. Yeah, right. We going out tonight. It's going down tonight. Yeah, right. It's going down tonight. We going out tonight. Yeah, right. We going out tonight. It's going down tonight. Yeah, right.
Where my girls at? Where my girls at? We got issues. We got issues. I'm so excited to be here with you on Thirsty Thursday. This is Thirsty Thursday because we got a lot of information. A lot is going on. And my name is Gloria Mayfield Banks. And if this is your first time leading into us, welcome to We Got Issues, where we are here every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday from 6 to 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on 910 a.m. The Superstation out of Detroit, WFDF. We're excited to be here with you. We want you to be a part of our conversation. We're so excited that you are here with us. And of course, Carolyn Muse, bam, first one on Facebook. Oh my gosh, we're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're on the app. We're on iHeartRadio. We're on the Facebook page, The Force of Friendship. We're on 910 a.m., the Facebook page. Oh, my goodness. We are four amazing girlfriends who value girlfriends, over 30 years of being girlfriends, and we spread the joy, the light, the energy, the lessons, the laughter about what it takes to make a good girlfriend, be a good girlfriend, and be a good girlfriend to those we don't know yet. We welcome you into our tribe, man. Our tribe keeps growing and growing and growing, and we've got a rich circle of things that we talk about. Oh my gosh, it's just girlfriend conversation, sometimes deep, sometimes not so deep, sometimes funny, sometimes ridiculous, sometimes life-changing, sometimes earth-shattering. So we're so excited to be with you guys today. Seriously. Okay, so let me tell you, Caterina is not here today with us, like normally, because y'all, she got food poisoning. When I found out she had food poisoning, I was like, wow. Oh my gosh. When my husband, who's now, at the time it was my boyfriend, he called me up. I've never had food poisoning, but he called me up and he said, I am really, really sick. I was in the middle of doing something very important, a party, and I left. I was like right in the middle of it. I gotta go. I jumped on a plane, came down from Boston to Baltimore. It was not pretty. So if you have had it, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, Beth, let's send her some prayers. If you haven't had it, don't get it. But Caterina, we're missing you today. We know you're operating some in the background there. We love you for it, for sure. But here are the girlfriends that are here on the radio today. We got issues. Let's go on down to the new look. Crisette Ellis, always got a new look. Oh, that chick can change the look. For those of you who can't see it, I'm going to tell you this. We have an international show. So we're loving you from the UK. We're loving you from Africa. We're loving you from Europe. We're loving you from the islands. We're loving you from all over. So you can't see it, but those of you on Facebook, you can see it. Chris got a new look. She got a new look. Hey, Chris, what's happening out of Detroit?
Hey, everything's overcast here today, but it's still a beautiful day. You guys, I'm so excited because today is actually my dad's 94th birthday.
Wow.
Yes.
That's crazy.
94 years old. He's in the kitchen. I'm going to make him some cupcakes and all of that later on so we can wish him a happy birthday. We're going to take him out. My sister's birthday is tomorrow. So we're going out on Saturday to celebrate both of their birthday. So it is just so exciting that, you know, he is here. And it's just so funny because he just can't believe he's 94. I mean, he asked me again today, how old am I? And he always starts at like the 60s. And I'm like, Daddy, can we at least start in the 90s? Because that's a long ways to go from 60 to 90. And so, you know, he'll go to 91. He's okay. But man, when we get to 94, he just looks at me. He said, I can't be 94 because I feel too good to be 94. I said, Kiera, I just pray that's going to be my testimony. Rub my blush in, take my heels off, and just know I'm going to be saying, I can't be 94 years old. So I'm excited about that, celebrating him on today. So that's amazing. It is so awesome. And then you guys, wait a minute. I heard this yesterday, and I read this after the show yesterday. Did you guys hear about Holly Pete Robinson? Her two sons got stranded in Canada. No. And when I tell you, yes, she is hot mad. I mean, she took to Twitter, and I mean, she was so hurt that Air Canada did that. And basically, when I read the article, she purchased tickets for both of her sons to go to Canada.
How old are they about, Chris? Are they grown?
I think, yeah, they are like 18 and maybe 21 or something like that. And so they were on their way back, and this has never happened before. So when they got to the gate agent asked them to produce the credit card that the tickets were purchased on. And of course they didn't have it because their parents purchased it. And so I'm saying to myself, if I have a ticket, it doesn't matter if my husband purchased it. I have a ticket. You see my name, and they would not. And so they called their mom, and they said the gate agent turned his back and wouldn't even speak to Holly Pete Robinson. And so, you know, she's hot mad. So
don't know what you're messing with, baby. You better be kind. You better be kind.
You better be kind. And do you know they did not let them on the flight, and they had to leave and get a hotel room, spend another night. She had to purchase another ticket. And fortunately, they were able to get home the next day. But I said, and then, you know, their excuse was, oh, they were randomly selected. I was like, no, you know, and maybe that's the case. I don't know. But I just know that has never, ever, ever. Okay. Thank you, Deidre. They were 19 and 16 years old, 19 and 16. Wow. So can you imagine how they were feeling? I mean, at 19, yeah, you're almost, you know, you're an adult. But 16, I mean, that could be kind of scary to be stranded. And I don't know if it was the last flight. I believe it was the last flight. Okay, if you're 46,
it's scary to be stranded, for real.
Exactly.
I don't care if you're 66, to be asked to produce a credit card that the ticket was bought on is ludicrous. That's crazy, ridiculous.
It is absolutely crazy because you would think, I mean, I'm sure they have the last name of, you know, of their mom. I mean, but why would you ask? Right. I mean, that's I've never, ever heard that happening. How many of us have purchased tickets for our children when they were minors traveling, and to be asked to produce the credit card, like you stole a credit card, you got a one way you got in, and then coming back, you can't use the same ticket to come back. So it's crazy. But I just wanted to bring that up because, you know what, there's discrimination going on all across all over the world. You guys talked about yesterday the man that got denied check-in at a hotel in Germany because he was wearing the Star of David around his neck.
Right.
Crazy. It's some crazy stuff going on, you guys. I mean, discrimination, of course we know it's real, but it just makes you so angry when you hear just how blatant it is. So I'm going to pass.
We have to stay sensitive to it. Even though we get mad, we just have to stay sensitive to it because it just keeps coming. That's crazy.
More craziness. Well, a federal judge in Texas has blocked the state's controversial 6-week abortion ban. So that's big news. I mean, for a federal judge to walk in there and say, nope, that's not happening. However, he did say that the U.S. District Judge Robert Pittman said that bill who keeps women from exercising control over their lives in ways that are protected by the Constitution, well, the block could be temporary that the judge has just instituted, since Texas has indicated it would be appealing the order to the Fifth U.S. Court of Appeals. I mean, it's just crazy. In September, the Justice Department sued Texas over the ban, which it says is in violation of longstanding Supreme Court precedent. So to think that we are in 2021 and this can happen. And so they're going to appeal this judge's latest decision, and we have to watch that closely. It's a lot going on. Gloria, I was happy to hear the good news. Simone Biles endorsing Wendy. I mean, wanting their money to go to Wendy Hilliard Gymnastics Foundation. Tell us about that. That is huge.
That was so big, y'all. That was so big. First she sent us this recording on the Kelly Clarkson show where Simone Biles was on with the other gymnast. I can't remember her name right now, but she was on there. And Kelly Clarkson and her sponsors give away $1,000. So Simone said, I want to give it to the Wendy Hilliard Foundation, Art of Harlem and Detroit, serving over 20,000 women over 20 years. I mean, it was this big deal. So then I called Wendy. Of course, I'm yelling and screaming like only a sister can do, like, and then found out that Simone had also donated $25,000. Somebody else called her and said, who do you want to get? We want, Uber. Uber from Uber Eats wanted to give a donation in Simone's name to any organization that she went with. And so she suggested, to put it to the Wendy Hilliard Foundation. So Simone is really watching this feeder that Wendy has provided of young African-American girls into the sport of gymnastics. And she stayed real close to Wendy. Wendy stayed real close to her. So it's just exciting. It's exciting for us to watch. It's exciting us to see. It's exciting to see the love. It's a really big deal. It's really, I said, what? And then we didn't know about just the publicity of Simone saying her name.
Right. And Gloria, it was Simone Biles and Jordan Childs. They were together.
Oh, it was Simone
Biles
and Jordan
Childs on the Kelly Clarkson show together.
Wow. Wow. And Jordan also knows Wendy, but through Simone. So I mean, that's such a big deal, you guys. That's such a big deal. So that was Jordan, girl. So she looked different, when they get off their clothes and they start wearing it and their hair is flowing and everything. Right. It was and they're sitting on the couch together, just like true sisters, right? They're just sitting there as sisters. So it was really awesome to see. So a lot of good news going on. So that was really, really fabulous. So really good. You guys, I'm excited about this show. When I tell you right now, you're going to have to go get your friends. You're going to have to go get your friends and say, we're going to talk about branding. We are talking about branding, the way you look, the way you appear, social media, all things fabulous. I'm so excited for you guys to meet Ramon. And Ramon, come on in because he is such fire. There he is, Ramon Dijon. I'm so excited. Meet my friend. You guys, I have to tell you this quick story. Okay? Quick story. I'm in Miami speaking. After we're speaking, getting ready to walk out, Ramon comes up and just volunteers to serve. Ramon, I'm just going to tell you, he just volunteered to serve. I see you. I work with Grant Cardone's office. I have my own business, and it just happened that it's just a God thing. It was just like my branding, my graphic. I'm looking for somebody spectacular. And his energy was like, yes. He said, sister, I got you. I was like, yes. So then we had a meeting today. Listen, y'all, before the meeting started, I said, hi, what are you doing at 6:00? Because I need you to be my guest. Yeah, I can do it. So we're so excited. What I asked Ramon to do before we go to break, I said, do me a favor. I could talk about you. And you guys, seriously, when you hear his website and everything, you're going to want to go and check him out for sure. But Ramon, we have a huge base of women who are listening to us, and we're going to get to the callers. We have men on the call as well. But I just really want them to know about your background. So can you tell us a little bit about your journey and why you're at this place today?
Yes, I am. I'm originally from Philadelphia. I grew up in Arlington, Virginia. My mother is a fashion designer. She's been making clothes since she was a little girl. And then my stepdad, he was in the music industry. So we just had a really creative household growing up. So, for example, if I asked my mom for a coloring book, she would say, "No, make your own." It's not that she didn't have the means to buy me a coloring book. She wanted me to be able to be
Wow.
creative enough to make my own. So she would go into the Borders bookstore and buy me a book on how to draw perspective, how to draw buildings down the street, she would buy me the felt tip markers from the art store from Michael's or AC Moore. She would buy everything I needed to put together my own coloring book. And then say, now that you've sketched out your characters, you came up with a backstory, and I'll retrace it with like literally make your own coloring book. And that's how everything was. Birthday
Right.
cards for cousins and school projects in our house. That was like the Super Bowl. The little kid, the little kid who's building like a big volcano. I was always that kid building
Right.
the crazy project that needs 15 teachers to come bring it into. That was our household. And so I watched my
Wow.
mom just be really, really creative growing up. And so naturally, because she was a fashion designer, I got to work with her on all of her fashion shows. I was the little kid because I would see her sewing all these garments. So I knew exactly what they were supposed to look like on the mannequin and on the model. And a lot of times when you're at a fashion
Right.
show, 30 models running up to you and say, "Hey, what am I supposed to put on?" The fast busyness of behind the stage in a fashion show. So a lot of times I would see models putting on the clothes wrong. And I'm like, wait, my mom, the way she made this dress is supposed to look like this. And this is me at like 9 or 10 years old. But I'm like, wait, the way my mom made this garment, you have to make sure you protect how she had it. This is the way you have it on is not how my mom made it. And I know that she would not be happy if you're rolling out her presentation incorrectly. And so at a really young age, I feel like I had an understanding of what branding and protecting a brand was without necessarily having the verbiage of this is a brand and we have to protect it. And so that was a part of that was my childhood. My upbringing was just really, really creative. But I also went to film school. I went to school for music. I love singing and dancing, and all of my brothers are all culinary chefs. So everybody's creative in some way. Even my grandfather played bass for Gladys Knight back in the day. Like everybody has some sort of creativity.
He used to sing for Gladys Knight.
He played bass for Gladys Knight.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I always took note of I knew I wanted to enter a creative space. I remember in kindergarten, my kindergarten teacher asked what everybody wanted to be when they grew up. And I remember, not that I would ever knock anybody for working a 9 to 5, but I remember at 6 years old drawing a blank because I didn't see myself sitting at a job where I had to do one thing for the rest of my life. I drew that blank because I wanted to do so many other things. And a lot of my biggest influences were Spike Lee and Robert Townsend and Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy. These were men who produced content in media, but they didn't stick to one role in that media. Spike Lee never just acted in a movie or never just produced or never just directed. Martin Lawrence, if you saw his name in the credits, you saw it 3 or 4 times. And so I wanted to learn how do I develop multiple things. If I'm good at a few things and if I love a bunch of things, how do I harness this skill set? And so just always paying attention to industries and branding and packaging and cartoons. I was singing for a while and my mom was like, okay, this was 2 years after high school. She's like, look, you gotta do something with this. You're not just gonna be sitting around singing. You're not gonna just be in studios. Like, go to school and learn production, learn music production, learn how to run a studio session. So I was okay. I went to school. I signed up for a program, and a year into the program, they gave me a film studies class. And by mistake, they gave me this class, and it literally became like my ears just popped open when I heard the instructor talking about pre-production and post-production and the director and script writing and storyboarding and script breakdowns and AV shot lists. I was like, wait, I came here for music. Why am I falling in love with this stuff? I'm supposed to be doing music and singing in the studio. I did not. Right. Why am I falling in love with filmmaking? And I ended up just switching majors. And the second I did, a million doors started opening up. I got my first job as a professional editor. I started working in multimedia. I got a job at ABC News. It just kind of snowballed. And so within that role, every major media role that I've had, the first thing these companies do is hand me a brand guide, which is, hey, here's what our company looks like in the marketplace. Right. As a designer, you have to protect this and still use your creativity to produce content, but within these parameters of our brand. And every brand that not necessarily every, but the brands that I work for that are the largest and have the most impact in the marketplace, those are the ones who there was no wiggle room for their brands. You weren't just coming in and deciding you want to try a new logo or a new color or a new font for the
right.
It was, no, these are the rules of our brand. That's it. And so that was I actually moved to LA, worked in the film industry, and just started to realize that I was freelancing for years. I was freelancing my second year in college. And I just went on Craigslist and found a guy who needed a logo revamped. And it was so easy of a process. I went on Craigslist, I found him, I created a invoice on PayPal, sent it to him. I charged him for 5.5 hours. The job went smooth, and I was like, oh wait, this is how you can freelance. And I just started doing that over and over. So for years of freelancing, I always had to work with entrepreneurs and different companies who you can't design the same way. And when you understand branding, I had to really get a serious understanding of what branding was. That was my understanding of years of training myself to, for one, understand a brand, how to communicate that to an audience, understanding that just, you can't just say I want to make my stuff for everybody. You have to target your audience and then grow it from there. But all these things I learned over the years of just kind of being put in a hot seat. And it's working for me now, because now we live in a world where everybody is becoming a business owner, an entrepreneur. And unfortunately, and it's terrible that COVID hit, but for a lot of people in my space, COVID was like a business boomer for us, because everybody decided to go home and become an entrepreneur.
Okay, here we go. Wait, you said the word. You said the business boomer, business boomer.
Yeah.
We're going to go to
People
a break
started to realize,
because we had to go to a break and pay the bills. But right after we come back, we're going to grab all that energy you got, all this information you got, all this knowledge you got in there, and we're going to pour it out. You guys, you got to go get your friends on the show, because everybody's got a brand to put out there. Everybody's got something to talk about. So we'll be right back. We got issues on 9:10 a.m. the Superstation. We'll be right back at you.
Hey, you guys. I'm so excited to be here with you on today. What a great show. When I tell you Ramon is full of energy, I just love his energy is oozing through this Facebook and StreamYard. And so I'm excited to hear what he's going to say about your personal brand. So I want you guys to put in the chat, what is your personal brand? Have you thought about it? Is it something that you're interested in creating? I know most of you probably have people that you follow on Instagram and on Facebook. And, what are some of the reasons that you follow them? And I know that I'm very selective with people that I follow on those social media platforms, because they speak to me, they energize me, they inspire me, they encourage me. And so people follow people for 101 reasons. And so what are some of the reasons that you follow people? And again, if you were to create your personal brand, what would that brand be? Are you all about fashion? Are you about inspiration? Maybe you're into nutrition. Maybe your thing is exercise. And so I really think that everybody has a personal brand, but not everyone per se is interested in pursuing it. Some people are followers on Facebook and Instagram, but they're not necessarily out there putting their own content out there. And so, what are some of the things that you look for in people that you follow in social media? And, one of the things that I have found, which probably a couple of years ago, I didn't realize it, but I was getting my makeup done, and Kiera was talking to our makeup artist, and they were talking about getting their hair done and getting braids done, and they went to the same place, and it's all because of this girl's Instagram page. Instagram, Facebook, it absolutely
you got to text me your website, because we're going to put it out there for everybody to know.
Listen,
I'm so excited, you guys. There's so much to cover in this space about branding, about marketing, about yourself, about finding your audience, about how to project, about how to overcome your fears, about how to go forward, and how it changed. We're going to talk about LinkedIn versus Twitter versus Instagram versus Facebook. Like, what do you do? And you guys, seriously, this is like one of those shows, like, we love our audience. But if y'all weren't here, we have questions enough all by ourselves. So we're so excited. So first I want to ask you this, Ramon. I want to ask you, when you sit down with someone, what is the first thing you want to convey to them after you tell us about your company? First, tell us about your company and what is the mission of your company?
Yes. So, and it's funny that you asked my website because as far as branding goes, so my name is Ramon Dejean. My URL is ramondejean.com. I did that because when I meet people, we moved away from a time where we're passing out business cards. People still use business cards, but they're not as effective as they used to be. So now we have, maybe there's like 15 other ways to connect with a person in passing. And one of the ways I wanted to do that is if I leave a lasting impression on you, you'll remember my name. Then I used to have to go to my website. You can just remember when people say, "Hey, what's your website?" Send it to me, text me. Like, no, just Ramon Dejean. That's all you need. RamonDejean.com. If you remember me, then you'll remember my website. And so my business is, I started an LLC years ago, and it was just to create a strong space to win over more clients. My process for years was when people would ask me, "Hey, can I see some of your work?" I would kind of grab a few strong pieces based on what their need was. So if somebody came to me and said, "Hey, I want a logo done or a brochure done," well, I would grab all the brochures that I've worked on, put them in a nice, clean, pretty PDF, and then forward it off to the person. And after doing that for about a year or so, I was like, you know what? I don't want to send a PDF to people. I don't want to send a PDF to someone. I want to have a strong location, one central home where all of my work is, and it's a beautiful, presentable presentation to show them. Well, one day I just decided I'm gonna go to school. This is a Saturday. I went to school at 6 o'clock in the morning, and I said, I'm not leaving this seat until my website is done, until I have a full, complete website up and running. I'm not leaving this seat. That day, I literally didn't even eat food. I didn't even go to the bathroom. I was calling my mom, like standing up at the computer, dancing around. She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Mom, I can't." That's the promise to myself. I'm not leaving the computer lab until I have my website fully done. I sat there. I had all of my portfolio pieces ready to go. I just needed a place to house them. And so from 6 o'clock in the morning until 8 o'clock at night, I sat there. I created all the custom backgrounds for the website. I went on to Squarespace. I paid for the account. At the time, it was like maybe $25 a month for the subscription. And I just did everything I need to do. I made that promise to myself that for my business, every time somebody asks to see my work, I can forward them to a URL, and it'll be a beautiful presentation. Well, what that did was it took me from making the dollar amount that I was making at the time to about tripling that. Because that presentation, now again, the quality of my work hadn't changed, but my presentation of my work changed tremendously. So
wait, that's a stopper right there. That's a stopper right there. Your work didn't change, but the presentation of your work changed. I mean, that goes in so many things. That goes directly to what we're talking about, is how a person presents themselves. So keep going. Yes. That was a powerful statement right there.
And I just noticed I mean, a lot of the things that I tell my clients right off of the break is I don't have all the answers. I can only tell you what worked for me. And having tried this stuff for years, I've tried so many wrong ways to tap into a way that actually works. I'm like, hey, let me just share with you guys, because here are some of the principles that you can use. A lot of the principles that we do in branding are just kind of basic everyday principles. You know, I was charging a few $100s for a logo when I first started out. And that was when I was sending out a PDF to the clients. Well, when I decided to make a beautiful website that had like actual forms, and you could get a pop-up box to leave your information, and there were like testimonials there from past clients I worked with. Well, now this presentation allowed me to tell someone, hey, I'm going to charge you $1,500 for a logo versus the $150 I was charging before. Because that presentation. Now think about the difference between if you go to a clearance store right now, and I don't want to bring any company in, but imagine you're a quintessential dollar store or a clearance bin. Well, the reason why that item ends up in a clearance bin, the reason why that item might only be $2 for $1 or whatever the cheap price it is because it's thrown in a bin where you just kind of got to dig through them. Versus, now think about that presentation versus if you walk up to Aventura Mall right now and go to the Gucci or Prada store, the reason why they can charge $9,500 for a shoe or a clutch sitting right there is because it's sitting in a gold box with LED lights, and there you see the presentation of those purses and shoes and bags. Right. Well, but those presentations are what they are because look at the price tag associated with those items. So a lot of times when we see in branding, the first thing that makes people go screw face is when you present something and the price tag doesn't match with the presentation that you're giving to your audience, people are like, wait a minute, this quality doesn't seem like, now I'm willing to pay. Because, a lot of people are willing to pay whatever they want to pay, but it just the quality has to match up. That's the same way as if Nike releases something, you automatically expect and assume that Nike is going to produce good, high quality performance athletic wear. So if Nike came out with something that was really cheap and tearaway, it's like, wait a minute, Nike, that's not your brand because you're known for producing high quality product.
Right.
And so I'm sorry I got off a little far on my tangent because you asked me, my business. And so I just noticed that the more I paid attention to the detail in my presentation, the more I was able to expect and demand a higher cost for what I was doing. Even when it came to sending samples to a client, if I'm designing a logo and they're getting 10 options, well, some designers might just throw the logos on a sheet and just tell you pick one. Well, if you get a logo round from me, they're all going to be organized. It's going to be a number system for each one. It's going to tell you at the top of the page what you're reviewing. It's going to tell you which round you're on. You're going to have all the information that you need in this review. And again, if you're asking somebody as a designer for X amount of dollars, well, that person has to trust you. Branding is nothing but a trust being built. You're building a relationship.
Okay, wait, stop right there. Because you just gave us the definition of branding. Branding is nothing more than a trust being built. And so when people so let me ask you this way, because there's going to be a lot of different listeners here. Some people have never done a brand at all. Some have attempted a brand and it didn't really take off. Some are afraid to do a brand. But what I'm hearing and seeing all the time is that now we're in a space where everybody's a brand. Some way, form, or fashion, everybody's a brand. Whether you're repping the company you work for, whether you want to be an entrepreneur, but people are looking at you. And then if you match that with social media, if you're in business at all, you're talking about social media. So, when you're talking to a person who's at the basic, what is it that they do to identify their brand?
One helpful tip to understand just the basic idea of what branding is, because a lot of people have this misunderstanding that a brand is the graphic work of a company. It's the logo, it's the print material, it's the color choices that they've picked. And that's not the brand at all. The brand is actually what your audience says about your company in the marketplace. So, for example, Nike. If you picture Nike right now, think about a Nike commercial. And I can assume that there's a lot of images running through your mind of high quality, a person working out, intense. It's a certain feel that Nike has. And in the same way I just referenced to Nike having high quality performance stuff, that's the brand of Nike. We know that if Nike is coming out with something, it's going to be done the right way. They're going to set some trends. It's going to be quality behind it. That's the brand of a company. So many times I've heard a lot of the women in social media, not social media, but a lot of in the reality show world, they'll always try to come out with a product and say, but my brand is this, my brand is this, not realizing we just saw you fighting and jumping on tables and throwing plates last week. That's your brand. That's what we know you as. When you pop up on the screen, we only remember this promo of you last week trying to get over a table and rip some other lady's hair out. And now you're trying to come out with a book and say, but my brand is this. No, you've already shown us, you've already marked us. It's a track record. It's literally just, now we call it, it's pretty name branding, but it's literally just your track record in the world, no matter with what you're doing.
Yeah. Hey, Ramon, this is so good. I'm sitting here. When you see me looking down, I'm taking plenty of notes. So listen, thank you for being on We Got Issues. This is so good. I absolutely love your energy. So I love talking to people that are passionate about what they do. So I have a couple of questions for you. The first question is, if a person came to you and they wanted you to help them figure out their brand, what are some of the first questions you would ask them right off the bat? And then the second thing is, is it important? I don't want to say it's important for everybody to have a brand, but I'm sure everybody has a brand. They may not have it out there, but if somebody's saying, hey, you know what? I'm interested. I just didn't know where to start. What would you tell them they need to do?
I want to say both of those. Essentially, it's both. I would tell to answer both of those questions. I would tell them the same thing. The very first thing that I require is I need to see your vision and your mission statement, because that's directly connected to what your marketing material looks like. And a lot of times the first thing when people say is, well, I don't have a vision or mission statement. I'm like, well, you got to write one, because if you don't have that, it's going to be really hard for a designer or an artist or anybody working for your company to catch the vision of your company. How I design visuals and graphics is I want to say 90% influenced by what that company stands for, what their moral compass is, because that's directly connected to
their moral compass. That's interesting. Their moral compass, very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, because how
I
you
love
know
that.
how a company operates in the marketplace is again directly connected to the imagery that I'm picking. I had a client come to me one time. She was a therapist for politicians' children. So a lot of her clients were the children of just a bunch of rich people. And so she had specific clientele that she had. Well, when she came to me, her website, she was bent on, hey, that it was like a bubble website for her background. It was like turquoise bubbles or something. Not just as a serious doctor who charges tens of thousands of dollars for her services, but her background looked like something you would see in Chuck E. Cheese. And so for the first 3 weeks, I kept explaining to her, this is not the aesthetic for you. You are a serious doctor with like 19 degrees. You do not, this is the background that I would use for a 12-year-old's birthday party invitation. This is not this is not the background. Now, as a designer, I'm telling her, you're paying me money. Listen to my professional opinion. Whether you heed to wisdom or not, it's not going to make a difference in my paycheck. I'm telling you, the best bet for you to operate in your marketplace for your audience is to make sure that you have a serious background. And so it took about 3 weeks to get her to budge from having that background. But that was one of those things where it was like you kind of have to understand who your audience is. And when I read her mission and her pillars, they were all based around helping children to communicate to their parents before the problem is too late, before they get to the cutting, before they just start hurting and harming themselves. And so I was telling her I would start picking imagery with families and but again, I had to explain to her that mission and vision is directly tied to the visuals. And so that's probably the first step, is understanding why you're doing it. Why you want these visuals on, what your company means. Some people are just out here to make money and they really don't care. And that's the moment where you have to go back and identify like that, because it's going to create your audience. We live in a time where it's so much consumerism. You have to create your audience and then just constantly feed your audience. So you're not locked in.
Wow.
Whatever it is you want to do, you just have to stay consistent with whatever it is you're doing and just keep growing your audience that way.
So that's it, Ramon. Thank you so much, Ramon D. We will always know your name and your website, okay? I mean, that was a great tip. It's like, do you have a business card? Go to my website. What's your website? My name. I mean, that is brilliant. Brilliant. So, we hear so much, and we know that this game can be all consuming. It could be a 24/7 hour job. And you've got to just know when to hire somebody, know when you do some of it yourself. So talk about that balance. How much should one do themselves? How much should you pay somebody to do? Because again, like Gloria Crisette said, we have lots of viewers at different stages of this game. So branding 101, where would you start first? And then if you're somebody who's in there, but you're ready to take it to the next level, let's talk about that.
I want to say that one of the most important things about branding is understanding the severity of it and how it's directly connected to revenue in your company. Some people, I've designed logos for people and they're like, oh, well, the logo doesn't matter that much. And in my mind, I'm like, yes, it does. It matters tremendously, because if your logo is wrong, it's going to set the tone for a lot of your other branding material, which is going to be incorrect. And you're going to be sitting around wondering why you spent $300,000 and you're not seeing a return on your money. Well, if your logo doesn't communicate to your audience the right way, your audience is not getting it. They're not buying into it. They're not being enticed by it. So you're not getting what you, and again, you're putting in a lot of work, but you're wondering why it's not converting into money. One of the, and again, I said that to say that you have to understand how important it is, which means once you understand how important branding is to your company, you'll start to steward it properly. A lot of people who don't have a correct understanding of what branding is will just be out here creating whatever they want. And they're like, I'll just do it myself. And I'm like, that's actually going to hurt your business more. So sometimes a lot of people don't want to come out of pocket. Like, I really don't have the money right now. I'm like, well, if you don't have the money right now, then take a beat, go get a part-time job or something and find a way to come up with the money, but don't do it yourself and hurt your brand, because then you're just going to be tired doing a whole bunch of stuff and wondering why it's not converting. Your audience doesn't care how hard you don't care about your efforts to make it happen. They want it. You have to actually make it happen. And so being able to hire somebody and understand, for one, anytime you want to jump into this creative space now, it's always going to be a subscription base. A lot of times when people ask me for free projects. I'm like, hey, I have to pay for my website to be up every month. I have to pay for Adobe Photoshop. The programs that I use to design your business cards, that costs me every single month. So no, I cannot afford to do your stuff for free because I got to keep my lights on. On top of that, I got to keep food in my stomach to stay nourished to be able to build the websites. So it's just always I have fees every single month. I get a bunch of emails like, thank you for this fee, thank you for this one, thank you for that one. It's all those websites and subscriptions that I pay to keep this stuff afloat. So understanding that if you want to dive into being an entrepreneur, being a business owner, getting into the creative space, if you want to be an influencer, or if you want to just start creating content, just know that a price tag comes along with it, and what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. Some people do ad spending and they only spend maybe $50 a day or $100 a day, and there's some companies that spend $10,000 a day in ads. But what you get out of it is directly what you put into it.
Okay, I have a question. I want you to talk for a few minutes about the visual. I want you to talk about how important is the quality of the picture or the quality of the video and reels. Like if you talked about those things, what is important? Because it's important. So
quality.
Give me
so quality, a lot of people don't realize, our subconscious is a major part of this whole visual thing. So a lot of visuals that you see, you three ladies may not have gone to design school, but that when Fashion Week, when it's done the right way, because it's been branded for so many years, you've seen the quality of a high fashion catwalk in Milan. That when somebody tries to come out and does it, for lack of better words, half-assed, like they don't do it the right way, it stands out like a sore thumb, because it's like, wait a minute, we've seen the quality and the standard has been presented before us for so many years. This isn't it. And that's how our society works. You've seen a lot of people don't understand why a graphic isn't strong or why it's not working, but it's only because they've had the quality of something presented to them for so long. The quality of visuals. One thing I noticed was being able to work at ABC and for Milk Studios and News Channel 8. A lot of these companies that have the budgets to pay marketing firms and ad agencies to do the research behind a lot of the branding, because branding is a science. There are people who have studied this stuff for years to know how audiences respond to the color red, what the color blue does in the tech industry, what the color yellow represents in graphics. All that stuff has been done for us. But because, again, it takes a lot of money to have privy to that information, a lot of people are just out here kind of doing it and just MacGyvering the graphics themselves. But as far as the quality goes, for one, and I'll use my mom as an example. My mom, I build my mom's websites, of course. But my mom's, because she's a really creative person, sometimes we'll do a photo shoot and she's so excited she wants to just share the photos. And I'm like, Mom, you cannot do that. We have to stay on brand, we have to protect the brand. But on top of that, anytime my mom needs a photo shoot, I'm like, Mom, you call me first and I'll fly to wherever you are with my camera and shoot it. I don't want you shooting iPhone pictures and putting that on your website. And she's like, no, but it's not that bad. I'm like, no, Mom, your friends from the second grade, of course they're going to support you. They're always going to say it looks nice, but that's not your target audience. Your target audience, because
your friend from the second grade.
It is, because what a lot of people do is they take their branding material and they go to their friends and their loved ones, people who we know are going to be in support of them. So that your mom is probably not going to tell you, you know what, you need to tighten up these font choices. Their mom's not going to tell you, you know what, this color palette is not working the greatest for you. Or you know what, that hairstyle, the stylist didn't get it right, try another photo shoot. Your loved ones are always going to tell you, because they see the effort that you're putting behind your work, your business. So they're always going to be in support. And even if it's terrible, they're going to find a way to find a positive. That's not what you need. The first thing I tell my clients is, look, if you come to me and ask me to take a look at your website or to take a look at your video, whatever it is, my disclaimer is, I am not here to blow smoke. I'm not here to stroke your ego. I'm going to tell you the truth. You don't need me to tell you all the nice things about your website. You need me to tell you all the things that are hindering your website from being amazing. If that's the lighting in your photos, if that's the quality of your photos, whatever it is, you need to tighten up these few things so that it makes it work. When I was in college and we had to submit our videos, we had to do screenings. There were some students who the teacher would say nothing. They would just kind of view their project for 10 minutes and that would be it. And he would give them a grade. And there was a handful of us where the teacher would just nitpick for like 45 minutes to an hour. And we're like, man, why the heck is he going on my project like that? And he explained to me at the end of my 4 years, he said, Ramon, the kids who I didn't say a word, it's because their project was trash. He said, if I was nitpicking, it's because there was like 7 or 8 little small details that you just needed to give a little love to, and that was going to make the project perfect. And when I saw him do that, that's what shaped how I operate in my career field, is that I don't need to tell you what's working. I need to tell you, hey, the lighting on this is not that great. Or you know what, when I go to your website on a mobile device, the conversion of your content is cutting off pictures and text. But it wouldn't serve you if I just came and told you.
You're talking to us, Ramon. You talking to us. We are like the worst. We're like, put some lashes on that. Cut that off. Take that off. We're a hot. No, we're not a hot mess. We're coming out of being a hot mess.
Don't go to my website. Don't go to my Instagram page. Don't go to none of it. Okay, I'm hiring you.
Okay, wait, Ramon. Like this clock is tick, tick, tick. Okay, so let me give you 3 words. You ready? 3 words.
Yes.
Women. Now just think about it. Okay, 3 words. LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. What's your thought on them?
So, for one, I know that there's this influx of everything in our world is sex sales. Everything is sex sales, sex sales, sex sales. That is not the only way to sell something. And so oftentimes I see a lot of women feeling like they have to go the sexy route because they see Instagram models and Facebook models. And yes, that's a community of women that make a lot of money doing that. But if that's not who you are, and I always tell every client to stay in your lane, whatever your lane is, play that up. The moment you start to try and look like something else you're not, or you try to make your brand look like something that it's not, you look like a copycat. And what's most attractive to people is confidence. That's literally in every industry. If you're confident about what you do, you could be a gymnast, you could be a lady making cupcakes, whatever you're doing. If you're confident and you believe in it fully, your audience will believe it and be sold into it too. And when you're not confident about your brand and you're not confident about what you're doing and the products that you have and the services that you're giving, it's going to reflect in your media, and then your audience is going to see the same thing.
That was powerful.
Right. Okay. Do you think that, I mean, oh my gosh, when we're doing what we're doing all the time, you know, I personally have not given the attention to LinkedIn that everyone says LinkedIn has just put a ton of money into LinkedIn to change it, to turn it into a real social media site. And then I think about Twitter. Like Sabrina's good on Twitter. Chris, do you do Twitter?
No.
Yeah, Sabrina's good on Twitter. She's good on Twitter. I go over there like every once in a while. But I love Instagram. But I have a file in Facebook. It's just so confusing. It's just part of it is confusing, but part of it is it's fun to watch. It is fun to watch. And so, you know, when you think about people who are trying to establish themselves, which one of those sites do you tell them to go to first?
So I wouldn't suggest that they go to any one of them first, because if you're going to dive into social media, you got to be on all of them. You can't just pick one. You got to find a way to make they're all married. People who are, even if there's some people who use Facebook way more than they use their LinkedIn. Some people who use LinkedIn way more than they use their Instagram, and vice versa. But at the end of the day, they're all married. They're all social media platforms. And how you conduct yourself on that platform is what shifts. But people getting to the platforms, that's not stopping, because everybody has, I mean, even for years, I had a Twitter that I didn't use. And then when the time came, when COVID hit, I started to dive into using Twitter and started to learn how I could really use it as a serious tool. So it's just every single platform, no matter what is the name of the game for any social media platform, is you have the power to, for one, create your own audience. But once you create that audience, whatever it is you're doing, you just have to stay consistent. All of my clients, even for my own personal social media, I moved to Spain about 2 years ago for a job. And when I got there, I shut down all of my social media accounts because I wanted to, for one, get a healthy understanding of social media. I didn't want to be consumed by it because I had to use it. But I also wanted to go back and re-strategize and rebrand so that when I did roll it back out, I wasn't just sitting on social media, just twiddling my thumbs. I was actually allowing it to serve my business and make and produce more revenue for me. But one of those, when I pulled the social media down, I was thinking about when the time does come for me to roll out my social media, I can't even touch it until I'm for sure that I have a plan in place to stay consistent. You can't set it up and roll it out and then take a 3-week break here and then a 2-month break there because, you know, you're stressed out over the kids and da-da-da. Social media doesn't care about that. They want to see all of it because somebody sitting in their room somewhere is going to identify with you at that moment. There's going to be people that identify with you when you're winning. There's going to be people identify with you when you say, hey, I haven't been able to find a job for 9 months. Whatever it is on LinkedIn, it's an audience there, and you just have to stay consistent. So if it's LinkedIn, if it's Twitter, if it's Instagram, if it's Facebook, once you get on there, be prepared that this is a commitment for a long time. This is not, because what you also don't want to do is keep jumping into these platforms, showing the audience that you're there for a little bit and then disappearing and going cold turkey, because then when you go to try to really do it, they're not going to trust you. They're not going to trust that you're going to keep consistent with their content. And that's all people want, is they want to know that I can come back a week later and it's going to be a new episode or a new show or a new blog or a new post.
So Ramon, I have a question, because I always wonder, are you supposed to, like when you're on Instagram and maybe even on Facebook, when people are commenting on, say, a post that you have, or they're liking something, is it etiquette that you have to go back and respond to everybody? Because you might have hundreds of people saying they like what you have on. And sometimes it's like, you know, I think somebody was telling me, you know, you get all these compliments and you don't say anything. That's not good etiquette. So what is the rule? Is the rule that you send one notice, say thank you everybody, and you lump them all together? Or do you have to?
The rule doesn't change. The rule doesn't change, because the person who commented comment number 1, they don't care that the person who's comment number 5,478, they don't care that they're that number. All they know is number 1 got a reply, so number 5,478 want to get a reply too. And what people do now is, because again, you can't change that rule, you just got to hire somebody who can sit there and do all the replies for you. That's what most of these companies do. Most of these biggest figures, they're not. If you think about I don't want to think about one of the biggest celebrities you can think of. Do you really think that they're going to sit there and respond with a like and a hey, thanks, appreciate it, or a heart or emoji to like the first 600 people? No, they're going to pass that phone to somebody else and say, look, go ahead for the next 2 hours, go ahead and respond to all these social media accounts. Because they understand I have to cater to my audience. My audience wants this engagement, but I don't have time to sit here and respond to 600 emails. So you put a plan in place. Whatever it is that you have a media need for, you put a plan in place to protect that content being delivered consistently to your audience.
Because that's big.
But you can never let that, you can never not feed your audience, because you got to think about like a hungry kid or a hungry animal or something. They always want it, and they don't care if you had a hard day at work. They don't care what you're going through in life. You got to feed your audience, because that's what they're looking for.
Okay, what about Reels? Reels is big. So talk to us about Reels, because it's something that we get on the video, and everybody's not going to dance. Everybody's not going to be funny. TikTok versus Reels. Which one? What are you thinking? Talk to us a little bit.
So again, also understand, like I said, everybody's staying in their own lane. Anytime somebody looks uncomfortable doing something, like that's a cringy moment for us. When you see somebody doing something that they're not even fully sold on it themselves. It's like, man, just sit down somewhere, because you know that same thing on social media. There's a bunch of cringy moments because you'll see somebody hopping on TikTok doing a dance, and it's like, man, that doesn't even look right on you. Just go back to what you was doing. You just want people to stay in their lane. Reels versus the TikTok. And Reels. Again, it can. Whatever it is, because that rule is so universal. If you're on TikTok, I just started this idea. I just bought a new bike, and because I live in Miami now, I'm just riding up and down the coast the whole entire time. So I thought about it. I was like, you know what, my TikTok thing is going to be. Now, if you go to my TikTok right now, there's only about four posts, because I just started using it. I only had an account because my baby sister's on there. I got to make sure, all the guys, But my TikTok account, I was thinking like, I'm going to start using TikTok, but I was like, you know what? If I start using it, then I have to create the media so that I can constantly keep uploading the content. So I was riding my bike, and I started to ride, and I was playing music over it, and I did a voiceover over top of the video, just encouraging myself. And it's like maybe a 30-second or 60-second video, but it sounds like I'm coaching myself as I'm working out on this bike. And it's literally just me riding the bike really intense with some music and then me coaching myself. And I thought, man, that's going to be my thing. I'm going to do videos, two videos a week, where I'm going to be riding my bike, and it's just going to be a new song, but I'm going to be encouraging myself the same way. And then I'm going to test that out for about 6 months to a year. Now, I don't know what the return is going to be, but I just know for the next 6 months to a year, I'm going to release the same exact thing over and over and over and over and over. And then, we'll see, we'll go from there. But again, just honestly, with branding, you just have to pay attention. You have to pay attention to who are the top brands out there, what they're doing, what's working, why they're the top brands. People ask me all day long, do I watch football? And I tell them no, because I'm not a sports guy like that. But I do check in with the NFL, because NFL is paying top dollar for their 3D graphic design. So if I know that if I just have to pay attention to the industry, well, if I go to design something 3D and there's a trend that the NFL is setting, I always have to pay attention to figure out what's changing in my industry, when the drop shadows are showing up, when reflections are coming, when new design techniques are being introduced. You always have to stay current so that because, you know, technology, everything's changing every 2 seconds. There's going to be a new app to kick out TikTok in a year or so. Like everything is just, it's always shifting. So the name of the game is always paying attention and just finding out how you can stay consistent in your space. But no matter what shifts, you still have to stay consistent. There are people who built their whole entire business off of Vine, and then Vine disappeared as an app. Well, they still got to keep the principles.
Right. Because
so it's just principle based. But what I will say is trying to figure out. I'm sorry.
So Ramon, in your expertise, in your area of expertise, what are you known for in branding? When you give people, is it the look, the visual, if you tell somebody, what is your thing that makes you so good?
Mine is the quality. So I tell people the difference between a suit at Men's Warehouse is $125 off of the rack. Now, if you try to get a custom tailor-made suit from an Italian designer, a seamstress, it's going to probably be about $3,400 because it's cut and fit specifically to your body. I tell people I'm that for the design world. You can go out and go to Fiverr and get a logo that 67 other businesses have, or you can come to me and you're going to get a specific backgrounds, and you're going to have a media package that no other business in this world can say that they have. And if you want the custom work, you got to pay for quality. That's just, that's what I tell people. If you want quality, you'll get professional quality work. But I'm not the cheapest guy in town. That's what I tell people. If you want cheap quality, I can't produce that for you.
Nice.
Because I just spent years paying attention to this quality that's been presented before us, from all the way down to cartoons to packaging in stores. Even as a kid, I used to wonder, how come I want to buy a bag of Snickers? a bag of Reese cups over a pack of Starburst. Like, what about this packaging design makes me want to get this one versus that one? And just always paying attention. Now, when I go to a restaurant, with the lighting in here, why are they looking at the menu and seeing how the menu design looks versus the upholstery that they chose for the seating and the plants that they chose at this restaurant? All those things are all intentional design, a choice somewhere. And it's just all choices, but those choices have to be protected. And your brand is just whatever choices you make, protecting those choices, and then coming up with a game plan to make sure everybody around you or associated with your business understands why you made those choices and why to protect those choices.
Nice.
One of the things that I love about you is that when you're talking right now, you're talking about how you value yourself. When you talk in your lane, this is what I'm worth. This is what I do. I'm not going to do it for free. That's just so important for us, our culture, for people to value who they are. I am enough, but it's not enough. And so going cheap doesn't always get you the desire that you want to project. And it just seems to me that branding is becoming more and more and more and more important. And it's branding for the big names, and it's branding for the small people, and it's branding for the one-on-one entrepreneur. Because even when you walk in the room, we always talk about your image and how you look. I was quoting Chris the other day. She told me this years ago. People are going to see you before they see you. And that to me is a brand. How you going to look, how you going to walk, how you going to be. When you leave, they're going to talk about you. I always say that when you leave, somebody's going to talk about you. So you better decide what they say. So that is gone from one end to the other. And now it's based on social media. I want to tell you, I have loved this conversation. We eat this stuff up like all the time. We're always trying to get it right. So the girlfriends are like, we are absolutely loving this, Ramon. And I thank you so much for being on this call with us today. Because we got issues. Ladies. When I tell you, we got issues, okay? We got issues, okay? We're here at the 9:10 a.m., the Superstation. We're here with Ramon Dijon, and his website is Ramon Dijon. You'll never forget it. He is there to support us and take a sister up. So we're so glad. Thank you so much for being with us today. You were a ball of fire. Chris, Sabrina, and of course, Caterina and Gloria. We're the Force of Friendship, and we love being with you today. Talk to you guys soon. See you tomorrow, 6 o'clock. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you, Ramon.
Ramon, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Good. That was so